Hello and welcome to LevelUp 5.0. This is a Christmas special where we'll be talking about all things localization, and we'll deep dive into the topic of localization. And perhaps it's very in the spirit of Christmas since Santa Claus is living in Greenland. That's probably the worst transition that we ever did. But nonetheless, I'm joined by Morten, known from Morten's Corner. One of the top frontliners in our business, and of course Parth, who is our brilliant support engineer who works on all the problems that are coming in from customers. So I think that you'll get a lot of the action from these guys today. So why don't we take just a second and cover a little bit about what's in the localization. We start out with saying localization is a little more than translation. It really is. It's just about reaching out to your global users, and you might even have local users that speak a second language like Spanish, or it could be in Italy. You have a small division that may well navigate within English UI, but are not quite capable of actually catching all the work instructions in English. It's also to improve understanding, because everything you are doing makes absolutely no sense if you're not communicating in language that is comprehensible from your end user standpoint. And then, of course, all of this combined will increase your adoption down the line and boost the training satisfaction from your end users. And then obviously there's also a component about translating your content into a different language. So I think that taking this into account, we might want to start out maybe by showing, because there's some prerequisites inside Attain that you need to set up in order to get this flowing. One of them being you need to set up the languages that you want to work with and that you want to regionalize for. So Parth, can you take that away? Oh, you're muted, man.
My bad. Yep. Thank you, Kim. And hello, everyone. Yep, Morten, can you please share my screen?
You are sharing.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, in order to add languages, first of all, you need to log into ClickLearn, get into the project, and you see this settings icon. So, click on the project settings, wherein you get the option to select language settings, right? So, here, as of now, I have added Danish as my additional language, but you have multiple options available in different dialects, wherein you can choose the language you want your content to be localized or regionalized to. So selecting any of them and then select, that will add that language to your project, and that's it. Then you are ready to get your content localized to the language which you have selected. And on top of that, you need to save changes. So let me just do one more. For example, let's just select Afrikaans, and then I select and then save changes. What it does is now we have Afrikaans added as well. Yep. So this is the basic necessity to localize your language. You need to add the additional language. That's it. Yep.
All right. And normally, I mean, you always set up a base language. What's the purpose of the base language? Can you maybe just touch a little bit on that?
Yeah. So in order for ClickLearn to generate content, we need to have a base language added, right? So by default, as of now, we provide English US as our base language, but provided if the user wants to have any other base language, what they can do is they can add the language they want to be their base language, and then they can remove the language by selecting by selecting English, for example, and then they can remove it from their list. So the language which they have selected would be their base language, and the content which they would be creating will be in the language they have selected as their base language.
All right, and I mean, it's very important that you get the base language right, because once you've set up the base language, you actually need to do a little bit of maneuvering in order to get that changed if you start adding recordings.
Yes.
All right. Got it. All right. So why don't we move from there onto the localization module, and maybe take a peek at what's happening under the hood.
Yep. Sure. Definitely. Let me just save these changes. And the globe icon, which you see in the left-hand panel of the studio, this is where the localization resides. So there are multiple ways from the localization module wherein you can localize your language. But a prerequisite to before you start localizing, it's always advised to run the analyzer. So that will give you the perfect count of what is missing in the language which you want to localize. So here there are two ways. One, you can do it from the widget. This is called a widget, localization widget. So click on start translating, and here you will get the uh, notes or images which you have added, which can be localized. So you see, I have added few text notes which would list here, and I can click on auto translate. I'll click on auto translate, and that will auto translate all the stuff in Danish. So this is, and on top of that, as soon as you, there are chances wherein you might have localized a few components, and then later on you might have added text note or text with image to the recording. So we also give an option wherein you can select only missing. But as of now, I have not localized or translated any stuff. So I will select all step, and it will list out the steps which you want to select, and then you can select the steps which you want to translate, and then hit translate. So you see, as soon as the translation is done, it the icon just beside the steps goes green. Yep. And for this step which does not show green, you would see there is an image block added. So if you want to translate that, you can use the same asset as source, or you can also replace it, and that will also get localized. So I'll use the same image which I have used in my English language as the source. So you see, the steps in the recording are now translated to Danish. Similarly, if there are any assets added, you can do it via the widget. And on top of that, there are elements in the structure. For example, you added section, title. So all those can be translated from here. Yep, this is one way of translating via widget. And then there is a way wherein you can do it individually. So in that case, you need to click on the localization, the Danish language, and there you will see recordings, assets, structure, and from here you can click on recordings, and this is the recording where I have 7 steps missing, and then I click on open translator tool, and then auto translate all steps. Yep. And save. So this, what it does is via widget, we were able to do it steps, assets, and structure from a single window. Here, you need to do it individually. So now I have done the steps part. I'll go to the asset, and I can translate that same from here, and then the structure. I'll click this, auto translate, steps. Yep. So these are the two ways how you can do it from the localization module.
Cool. And so you actually need to translate the structure in order to get the recording titles translated. Is that right?
Yep. So in order to get the recording titles translated, so if you have added recording titles, headings, sections to the structure, and if you want to translate them, you need to translate the structure.
Okay. And the assets you're referring to, that could be like a screenshot, like you said. So you have let's say you create a form and you have a screenshot of the final form, and you have some text saying, this is how it looks like when it's done, and then you have
Mm.
a form, and then you would have the same screenshot in Danish, for example, right, or another
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Are there other assets that can be localized like this?
Apart from images, no.
Okay.
So, for example, if you have added a PDF as an asset, no.
All right.
All right, because I think it's important maybe to look at the perspective in this, because although you are translating, you're basically running on notes sections. Every single piece of text that you typed in yourself, you take over the responsibility for translating that inside our application. But if we're talking about the steps that are needed in order to perform a particular action, that actually runs in a little bit of a different mode. And that's inside the language and template editor. And I know this is a confusing part for many clients. When they're running their localization, they don't get it, off the shelf directly. So can you maybe show us how do you translate the steps that I've created, which are born within ClickLearn?
ClickLearn. Yeah, sure. So for that very same thing, I'll again go to the settings part, and there you see text to language settings, and there you see language template editor. So in this case, right now we already have the translated text for Danish. So let me give you an example by adding an additional language. Add new language. For example, let me just add Hindi. Yep. Select save. All right. So this is now added to my project. And now there you see, this are the steps which are predefined by ClickLearn for videos, other stuff. And let me just change it to process instruction. Select. So here, new recording step. This stuff. And apart from that, yep. So for example, show me, try me, and the stuff what we can do is we can click on translate all, and that'll add to the translation thing, you see.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is how it gets auto translated, and same applies for the click on the steps which you have by default shown in ClickLearn. You can translate them as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mighty fine. Mighty fine. All right. So maybe we can dig into, because one thing is that I might want to rely on the auto translate. What if I want to run this through a normal regionalization? Are there any tooling there that will allow me to do that?
Yep. So you're talking about the steps, right? The normal steps.
No, I'm talking about the Excel part where we can basically export and get back the localization. So maybe touch on that.
Yeah. Got it. All right. So let me go to the localization section. In here, I'll click in the language wherein I want to get my stuff or the content translated via Excel. So in the language, you would see this 3 dots wherein you can export the Excel. So right now, there are option all elements and incomplete only. So what I'll do is I'll select Danish and then click on all elements and click on export to. So it will ask me for a location where I want to get it downloaded. So let me just say it's on desktop. Yep.
We have a comment that is a little bit difficult to read, and Marcus asks if you can zoom in a little bit, so it's a bit easier to see. So you can put like maybe Marcus suggests 125%.
My browser window.
Your display, so the ClickLearn is also zoomed in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just a minute.
All right, while we're waiting for that, maybe we can jump over to you, Morten, and talk a little bit about your favorite topic, which is the metadata, because obviously it carries a lot of weight. Maybe you can start by explaining to newcomers in ClickLearn what is metadata, and then maybe you can tell us about what are the pains in terms of regionalizing that, or if there are any specific requirements there.
Yeah, you bet. So when it comes to metadata, metadata is something that you add in your project. You toggle that down here. You basically go to manage metadata. And then when you do have a project without metadata, you have 3 dots here where you can select which type of metadata you want. I've selected document, which is all the document metadata. Then we can also add description. Description is the title of the recording itself. So the title of your work instruction. And I mean, that's a must-have. You have to enable the description metadata. The HTML metadata is for robots. So you can do keywords. You can tell robots how to treat your indexed page and stuff like that. But for the purpose of localization, that does not matter. If we come into a recording here and now have a look at, let's have to find one that has metadata on it. One sec. Just gonna have a look. All right. So there is one here called hire new employee. And our hire new employee, in order to have the metadata translated and localized, firstly, let's just check how it looks. You click on this button over here called metadata. Now, you have some document metadata. I have a process. I have an author here and so forth. A revision number and the date it was revised and all that. And then we have the process name called hire new employee. This name is what will get localized when you do it through the structure. Okay, so as you saw path through, he clicked on localization, he clicked on start translating, and then he went to the structure tab to find a recording that needed his title translated. That will then take care of the title itself. Now, what I like to do when I work with ClickLearn is that I like to download our template, and then I like to use the metadata in the template, right? I'm going to go with the Word one because it's the most commonly used. There are people that also use the PowerPoint. You can also use metadata in PowerPoint, but it's much more simple and straightforward. So let's just do the Word because it's a little more complicated. So you go to theme, custom theme, and you can download the default template here. Then you have a base template to work with, right? I've already done this. It's called ClickLearn Default, I've called it. Let's go ahead and save these changes. So I'll open up my ClickLearn Default. So here is our default template. It uses some of our tags for metadata. This is your license. This is your process name, and this is the author. This does not require the metadata from the recording we just filled out. This is just using what ClickLearn already provides. So what I normally do is that I will just honestly just scrap all this. We don't need that. And then we'll go to the I'll go up here.
Whatever you do, don't remove our logo.
Yeah, we're not going to remove your logo or our logo, sorry. So in here, I would go to, what's it called? Insert. And then we have some quick parts over here. And there's going to be a quick part for field, okay? And when I come into field, I can go to document property. And in here, we have all the ClickLearn metadata. And you recognize these by, most of them have CL in front and some do not. So we got CL approver, author, doc ID, and whatever, all these, right? We also have, there are also some for title. The one with a small t title, that's our title. I'm going to put this one in. This is the alternative title. This is a Microsoft generic field, so we don't want that. I'll put in the title up here. And what I'll then do is that in here, there's a bookmark for the content. I'm going to Control X that. And I'm going to make some space on this page because we're going to do some cool things with that. I'll push this down to the next page and call this table of contents. After the table of content is done, we'll do another forest line break, and then we'll page break, and we'll put in the content itself. So here is the bookmark for the content. So it's going to go on page 3. Now, what I would like to do with the metadata here is that I like to make like a cool little table, for example. So let's make a table like this. Okay, we're gonna have the process, or sorry, we're gonna have the author, and we're gonna have the revision, and we're gonna have the revision date, and we can have the process down here maybe. Right. So what I'll then do is that in each of these ones, I will come in and say insert, and I'll put in my metadata tag, fields. I'll find doc property, and let's find the CL author. It's here somewhere, right? CL author, there we are. The reason it's blank, you see it doesn't put anything in. There's no metadata to display, and there is no placeholder. The way our template works is that it works with no placeholders for the metadata. So if you come into properties, advanced properties, custom, you can see all the different metadata tags here, and you can see their placeholder value. If you look at the value, you'll see this is the space. So it's basically just empty. The reason we've chosen that is because sometimes if you produce something that does not have all the metadata stuff filled out, you're going to have the placeholder sitting here, and it doesn't look good. It's not a good look. So we've just chosen to have a space to make it appear as if it's not been correctly filled out, which is true. Let's do the same real quick for revision here. I misclicked. This is not my standard mouse. All right, and we had a revision date. Let's go there. CL ref date and process. There we go. So this is my English template, okay? It has a cover letter. I could put in a nice little image down here if I wanted to, and then table of content, and then the content comes below it, right? So I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this as ClickLearn defaults, and I'll say EN. Actually, let's say US, EN US. How about that? Because then it's very specific, right? And I'll explain why that's important in a minute. Okay. Now, what you can then do is that you can localize this template to when you produce it in, let's say, French. You will then have the French placeholder words out here. Okay. You can also manipulate it so it uses, well, this is the French date format there, but say it wasn't, right? I can tell this that it has to be formatted a different way. We need to change table of content into French. So for all this, I will just pop in here and we'll quickly do a translation because I don't know the words. I'm not sit here and do them all. I'll just do a few, okay? So you kind of get the idea. Oh. All right, and then we have the table of content. We'll do that too. All right, and now we'll save this as I'm going to do French from France. So I'll just call it FRFR. So now I have 2 templates, and I could keep going, right? I could make a German one, an Italian one, whatever sub-dialect I wanted. If we need a UK one, where we replace all the Z's with the actual C's, or the Z's, as you would say in English in UK, we can replace those too, right? To make everyone happy. So now I'll upload my template for my default language. Add my file and from my computer, and let's go and find our English US one. All right, save that. So now I'll come to localization, where a path was also hanging out. And let's just add French, because I don't even have French in this project. That's fine. Let's just do that. We'll say add language, and we'll say FR. Okay. So when it comes to localization, it'll now ask me about something, and I'll show you. We'll go to start translating for French. This is the same thing that Path did. The cool thing about the boxes up here is that they do everything at once. So they do all, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 steps at once, rather than a single thing, right? You can also drill down through the sub sections here and then find the one you want. So when we come into assets, it will now tell me that I have a Word document somewhere, hopefully. Yes, so it tells me I have an English US Word document. I can now put in my French one. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because I don't know anyone who has done this or knows about this. So I thought, it's a good idea to show you. And it ties great into the localization. So we'll go ahead and add that. Now it's happy, has a green little checkbox. And let's go and try to produce that one recording in 2 languages and see what happens, okay? Actually, I may need to localize it first because I just added French, right? Let's run the analyzer. And let's go do that one recording. So we go to recording localization, and we'll find the hire new employee, and we will translate it. 3 dots, and I'll say open and translate tool, and I'll click on auto translate. And I'll say only missing. All right. Okay. Now, this recording.
And Morten, here's actually, can I just interrupt for a second? Because it's interesting, right? Because actually all the instructions were already regionalized because we're coming from the template, right? So they're born inside the recording. So you only need to translate whatever you put in there, right?
Yep, exactly. So anything I type with my own hands, that needs to be translated, right? Because everything else is translated from the template, like Path also shown. Another thing to note here is that you will see that it says click sur le bouton settings, and then you have the English screenshot here with settings, okay? And that is because the recording has not been replayed. So we have 2 ways of working with languages in ClickLearn. I'll just quickly cover that before I show you the template. the way that you can work with languages in ClickLearn is either you have a fully localized instruction where you replay it, okay? And that is where ClickLearn goes through the instruction again and re-records the screen. So you had the French screenshots and the French references to buttons, okay? The other way is that you have your whatever language you choose, in our case, English US, and then we have French explanations for everything. So if I'm a French speaker and I'm using the UI in English, it's still helpful for me to read everything in French, all the explanations and stuff like that, and just refer to the English screenshots. That's what we can do like this. Change UI language like that. You see the little globe here? It will then use the English screenshots, and it's not going to complain about needing to be replayed anymore because it's accepted its fate and will display English US screenshots. Let's try to just quickly make recording out of this, okay? So I will just quickly share it with the sharing feature. So instead of producing the whole portal, I just want to quickly show you the 2 templates, all right? So while that's running, I'd like to explain a little bit about what you saw on Path's screen. So when Path was in the language template editor and was doing the translation, the reason Path did the translation was because we have a core or a main language for each language, like a main dialect for each language, and then we have sub-dialects, okay? So for English, we have English US as the main language. Then you have English UK, and you have English from Canada, you have English from wherever else they might have a dialect of English. And those are not populated unless there is a variation in the language. By default, we have not populated anything. So we use French from France, we use Portuguese from Portugal, and so forth, Spanish from Spain. So people who use Mexican Spanish or Brazilian Portuguese or German from Switzerland or French from Canada or whatever, they might want to do a translation of their template and then do an export, okay? And then, have it do their changes in the exported version, which usually comes in Excel. It's just the easiest ways to manage it. So just do all the changes you want to make it appear in, especially Swiss version of German, for example, and then you just re-import it, and then that's what all the recordings will then refer to that template and use that setting. The cool thing about that is you don't need to sit and micromanage every single recording on a template level. You can just do it like blanket all of it at once, which is really cool. If you are not using one of the core languages as your primary language, I would very much recommend you do this, because if you want to edit the way that, let's say it says, click on the button name. If you wanted to say, please select the button name instead, or something like that, or let's say it says, click on the drop-down menu and then the name of the menu, right? So it's a combination of the mouse action, then the type of object you're clicking on, and then whatever you're clicking on, right? So click on the drop-down menu and then the name of the menu. If you don't like it to say drop-down menu, you can then change that. But if you have English UK as your primary language, the template would be blank, okay? So let me just quickly show you by adding English UK while we're at it. It's called GB, right? Yeah. Okay. Go to Language Template Editor. So let's click on one of the business systems because it makes a little bit more sense. All right. So when I click on the generic menu in CRM, it will say, click on the menu and then the name from the system, and in German and in French. But in English GB, there is nothing, because it will just fall back and use the English US one. So if you don't have English US in your project, when you want to edit your template, it's just going to be blank. You're going to be like, hey, what is it using again? There's nothing here. So I'd recommend that you go and do a full translation of everything if you do not plan to have English US or GE German or French, etc. in your project. They don't have to be the primary language. They don't need to be. It's fine. It just needs to kind of be there to see what the reference point is, so you know what you're changing. Let's have a look at what it downloaded for us. All right. So we'll just quickly take a look at the PDF here. And you'll see here that we have author, revision date, and process, okay, on our cover letter. Now, if I switch over to French, now everything will be in French, of course. And when I then click on our PDF, then it's auto have worked. I think it just needs a little kick in the behind. So I'll go fix that.
So while we are waiting for you to fix, maybe Morten, we can run a small poll.
Just do it.
Because we love to get your input on what topics you would like to see in the upcoming Level Up sessions. So help us do that, and we'll kick off the poll. Morten, are you capable of doing that, or is someone else controlling the poll?
I cannot initiate polls. Sorry.
Then I guess it's back to the chat. And tell us in the chat, please, what you would like to see in the upcoming sessions. If there are specific topics you'd like to see or more generalized, is it walkthroughs? Is it more content around demos? Do you want to see new features being demoed in our Level Up session? Please let us know inside the sessions, so we'll be able to sort of get in the right direction with our content on this channel. All right, while we're waiting for you, Morten, maybe we can jump back to Bart.
Yep.
Yes.
And Bart, I know that we kind of took you a little bit off on when we talked about the Excel translations. Maybe you can show us. If I'm really into translating this on my own, not using the auto translation things, I want to distribute this to an external party for translating. How would you go about that?
Absolutely. So in that case, the Excel feature, what we have, as I showed, Morten, have you shared my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. So as I showed, you can click on this 3 icon, export to Excel, and then this is what you see. Let me know if you can see my Excel.
Yep, we see it.
Yep. All right.
You may need to zoom in a little bit, though.
Okay.
You can just control scroll if you need to.
Yeah. That is what I'm doing. So right now, this is what I have got from the Excel. So, for example, if you want to translate this to Danish, yeah, it does require human intervention, but the one who is expert in Danish, what they can do is they can just translate or enter the text, whatever they want to be shown in Danish. So, for example, let me just translate this and see what it does. Yep. Okay. All right. So the Danish text for this note is, for example, this. So then I save it, all right, on your local drive or wherever it is. And then what you can do is you just need to click on import translation from Excel. Let me just check. Yeah. Yeah. So there you see, it'll fetch whatever details you have filled in. It'll fetch the details, and then you can approve or reject. So right now I'll approve all and import. So just exporting to Excel, filling in the translated text, importing in Studio. It's as simple as that. And that's it. Your localization or your translation in Danish is done via Excel without going into each individual step or recording. That is how it is done via Excel.
All right, that's absolutely brilliant. It actually also means that you can take translations completely offline. You don't need to have an Attain in order to run through the translations, and you can ship
No,
that off to, let's say, your French office, and you can have them localize whatever is in
exactly.
there and then return it to you.
Exactly.
All
Once
right,
you get that stuff
absolutely.
back, just import it and your
Yep.
French translation is done.
All right, while we're waiting for that, I just want to touch on one thing, Morten. The multi-language replays. How complicated are they, and what do you need to be careful about?
So working on multi-language replays, I'll just switch up to our triple screen here. When you work with replays, replays are very data dependent, right? And you need to consider carefully your process when you're working with the replays, especially when you do multi-language. So let's just pop in here and have a look. When I do a replay, let's see, create new account. When I create a new account, I record it in whichever language I prefer. And then I can do, of course, a replay in another language. Now, this recording has been replayed. So in German, you'll see it fully localized to German, right? It says, click auf das Element Firmen. And you can see here that it's a German UI and it says Firmen here, okay? Now, that's all fine. But when it comes to the data itself, popping into the data editor, you will want to have a look at what you're actually clicking, okay? So there is a step here where I am I'm entering the company name. Now, this is just a general replay thing, but when I am filling out a company here, if I'm replaying this and the company already exists, this system I'm using right now will pop up and ask me, hey, do you want to merge with the existing record? Because we already found this. So what I would want to do before replaying it in another language, I would come in here and click on the keyboard input where I'm typing the company name. Let me just show you the steps so you have some kind of idea. Basically, I'm just clicking in the name field here and I'm typing a name, all right? It's very simple. We're just keeping it simple here. Now, when I click on this, I'm working with the German version now. I can just change this to something else. So in the German version, I want it to be Joachim's store, okay? So now Joachim is a store owner. There we go. And if I do the French one, you'll see it still uses the default, which is Morten Store 2. This is fully language dependent, right? So you can change this any way you want. So we'll make path store as well. So if I were to replay this, it would of course create a new record and it would use the other name when it does the input. That's a simple part. Now, when it comes to a more advanced data selection, let's go there. Let's see. I think I have one that says add phone number to an account. Okay, so we're selecting an account where we're adding a phone number to it. Now, let's find out where we add the phone number. We add it down here, and we have to find an account somewhere. Here, we're filtering, blah, 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 and then we pick an account here. All right, so this screen here, let me just find it in CRM, okay? I'll find it in CRM. Let's go to CRM, and let's find accounts. And let's go to all accounts. All right. So this is a table. A table consists of rows and columns. And when ClickLearn captures data, it captures an item on a row where each column has a specific value, all right? It captures everything. This is a simple sheet. If you go to, I don't know, BC or finance and operations or IFS or whatever, you'll probably have, I don't know, 20 columns with data in them, okay? And every single column of data will be matched in ClickLearn. And you need to think carefully about that when you do replays. And I'll show you what you will need to change when you do stuff like that. So I'll just record one simple step. That's all we need. Let me just do a new recording because this is the wrong resolution. It's recording on another computer. So I'll do it here. And I'll say edit company. I'll just do a single step. We don't really need to do much. Let's click on this one here. That's all I need. And we'll go back. All right. So coming into the editor here in a sec. Did I not save it? Let me just do one more time. I think my ClickLearn is very happy today. I just need to, I'll just restart the project here. But Joachim, to sum up, just to resume the other discussion that was there regarding what would be nice to see. We had two questions. One was what you need to watch out when you do a replay. And the other question was, or the other comment was that UXP and AI related things would be nice to see in future events. What do you think about accommodating that?
I think that's absolutely doable. That's definitely something that we'll try and work into the next couple of sessions. I think doing a major session on UXP and maybe digging into the AI parts, that's something that we want to do. So I think that's absolutely fine. And please feel free to pop your questions if you have any into the QA or into the chat. Then we'll pick up all the questions and see if we can get you guys answers to anything. And it doesn't have to be related strictly to the topic of localization. We'll answer anything. How's it going for you?
My ClickLearn is very, it's not playing nice today.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Are there any? Is there anything else, part you feel that we need to touch on when it comes to best practices on driving the localization?
There is one more point wherein I can show from where users can translate if there's just an individual note which they want to translate and they want don't want to go through the entire process.
Yeah.
Yep, that can be done.
So basically, we're now outside the scope of the normal localization module, and you're just going to do a single translation. All right, let's see that.
Yep. So, for example, Morten, can you please share my screen?
You are sharing, sir.
Thank you. All right. So let's open one of the recording. All right. Let me know if I need to zoom or something, if it is visible or not visible. Yep. So, for example, this is a text block. I've added a note to this recording, which we need to translate. This is the only text note which I have added, and I don't want to go through the entire localization process. So what we can do is we can add it, and then we have this language icon over here. You can click here, and then, for example, this is right now localize. Let's remove it. So, for example, let's assume that this is the text we entered and we want to translate it to Danish. So we have this auto translate button here. You click it and you want to change the translated text. This is what it'll do. You simply click auto translate, save changes, save, and then let's just see how it shows in Danish. There you see, the note is in Danish. So for example, if the user does not have lot many content or notes or assets to go through, everything else is done, and by end of the recording, they forget, okay, this needs to be added. So rather than going to that entire process of localization module, going to individual recording, selecting the step, just enter into that step, edit, select the language, and localize, and that'll do their work
All right,
from
I
within the
appreciate
recording.
that. All right, thank you, Bart. So, Morten, you managed to get the recording going. And, let me,
You bet. I'll switch.
let's see where you are.
Yep. All right. So my very simple recording is here is the data in English US. And as you remember, there was a name, there was Fabricam, they have a phone number, they have a city they live in, they have an email address, and then they have if they're active or disabled or passive or whatever the other term is. Okay. Now, in other languages, you might find that this is our table. This is a row with each column, right? You might find that in other languages, it's not called active. Okay. It will be the German phrase for active, okay, or the French phrase, or whatever. And they might even translate the city name. So it's not Linwood, it will then be whatever German people call that city, okay? Like, let's take a capital like Copenhagen. That can be spelled this written in so many ways, depending on which UI language you're in. They will write it in the native language, yeah? So if ClickLearn is looking for a row where each column has these values, it will suddenly not find Linwood. It will not find that it's active because it's called something else in that language. So there are two ways to approach this. The easiest way, of course, is that you unselect language-dependent or dynamic values, such as the city and whether or not it's active, right? That can work for this example. But let's say we had a list of orders, and for some reason, the order number was not part of that list. So they're hard to differentiate from each other. The more flags I remove, the less unique this record becomes, right? So it's a fine balance between keeping static values as the ones you're going for and finding the correct one that you want. So in our case, we have multiple Fabricams with the same phone number because they have different, they are in different cities. Okay, so this will not work. I need to have the city here. And I prefer them to be active because some of their locations are inactive. So they also have flags, okay? So what I would then do is that I would basically come into the German version. I can double click on the city address and I can change this to German, okay? And I'm gonna pretend that I know German, I do not. And we will say Lin branch. Let's say they called it that. And active will be active. Would say active with a K and a V like this, active, okay? So now the data would match in German. And that's basically what you would want to look at when you work with localization in multi-language replay, right? Because sometimes stuff like where it says active or disabled, or there are other generic terms, like let's say an item description. Let's say you're placing an order for a chair, and this chair has a description. The description is it's a nice and comfy chair. This is actually localized, so it's not called nice and comfy chair anymore. It's called something else in German, right? So you need to be very vigilant when you look at data prior to executing your replay. So that's what I wanted to show. It just took a while to get there, but here we are.
It definitely did, and you faked it till you made it in the German as well, Morten. You were so close, but not quite there. So I think that we are basically, unless there are questions from chat, we are coming to the conclusion of this Christmas special. We managed to take you through some of the pitfalls of translating and localizing your experience for your for your customers and your users inside ClickLearn Attain. And we didn't manage to translate anything into Greenlandish, but we'll do that in another session. And I think you managed also, Morten, maybe to give a little bit of a teaser on what you need to be careful about when it comes to replaying data across multiple data stores. The fact that you're not certain that the data is actually the same in those two data stores, and that applies certainly across multi-regional settings. All right, are there any questions here, Morten?
Let me bring up the chat here.
All right.
This is how it looks. There are no new questions, unfortunately.
All right. In that case, I think that this is a good time to say Merry Christmas to everyone. We look forward to seeing you in the new year, hopefully with more updated content and probably a LevelUp 6.0. I don't know what we do in the 150th edition of this, but we'll work that out down the line. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you to both Pat and Morten for helping us get through today's topic, which was localization. And thank you guys for watching. We know you have other alternatives. There's a lot of streaming out there. So thank you for choosing us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.